The Sigma FP is the most unique camera on the market today. Look at it. This video is a quick introduction to the camera if you're new, and a mini review as an ex-professional content creator that's owned the camera for about a year now. Look, even with all my attachments on, this camera is like the same size as this crop sensor A6000 camera, which is insane. The all-metal construction is, well, I've heard a lot of people say it reminds them of the FX3, and most importantly, it is wildly inexpensive on the used market right now. I bought my Sigma FPL on eBay for $1,300, and with the release of the Panasonic S9, the Lumix S9, I think these are gonna get even cheaper. But let's address a couple upfront notes if you're just starting to look at this camera. First and foremost, to access external RAW, you have to have an SSD. You won't be able to shoot external RAW if you don't have some way to plug this into the camera. Two, it doesn't come with a viewfinder, but you can buy one like this. It's a little bulky, but it is really fantastic, and I got mine for about $300 used on eBay. While it doesn't come with a viewfinder, it does come with this little attachment right here. It's a cold shoe mount, and like it has a little HDMI clamp on the back there. Low-key, my favorite way to run this camera. Fourth, photo autofocus is great, but video autofocus is abysmal. And for this reason, I've chosen to go almost completely with manual focus lenses because I'm accustomed to Leica's M mount. Now, if you want to go in more depth, I just released a full buyer's guide on 52weeks.com. Everything you need to know before buying a Sigma FPL in 2024. This includes lens recommendations, SSD mounting options, and more. Most people tend to call the Sigma FP and its slightly more expensive brother, the Sigma FPL, a video first shooter, and I tend to agree with that. I mean, false color, external RAW, it's incredible. But the next closest camera that has 61 megapixels on the photo front is like a $3,000+ A7CR by Sony. I mean, the Sigma FPL really punches above its weight class, especially when buying used. Most videos online talk about the normal Sigma FP, but I personally chose the Sigma FPL. Both are great options, but I want to give the internet a quick list. Why choose an FPL specifically over the normal FP? First on the list, 61 megapixel stills. Once you've tasted the fruit, you can't go back to smaller sizes without feeling like something is missing. However, it is important to note that 61 megapixels adds time to workflows. I routinely have to export web-sized versions in addition to my full-res exports to be able to use them in web design and other applications. All right, can you see me? The Sigma FPL has a function called clear image zoom that I have mapped to one of these back buttons here. And it honestly does a really great job. I don't recommend shooting at 2x because it just feels like you're shooting at like f10, f11 on most lenses. But if you have a lens that looks great wide open from 1.4 to 2.8, the 1.5 looks incredible. On video, it's got more stops, whereas on the photo end, 1.5 is like my bread and butter. Immediately have a more subject-focused image.
Thank you.
The Sigma FPL has an OLPF filter in it, which negates the odd artifacting that can appear when photographing plaid shirts or tight patterns. This isn't the craziest feature to have in a camera, but it does mean I don't have to worry about it, which is very important because I will be paying attention to other weak points when operating this camera. As I understand it, the normal Sigma FP had some potential issues with its buttons and dials, and the Sigma FPL was updated to where this is no longer an issue. And lastly, age. Both the FP and FPL are not new cameras at this point, and the FPL will have less problems with ports and things like that simply due to less time being in the used market. This is ISO 1250. This is ISO 400 with a cranked shutter. ISO 3200, 6400. Everyone on the forum seems to be so concerned about the low light capabilities of these cameras when it's just as good as my old A7 III. Plus, in my experience making images, at some point you just have to let the dark be dark. When you can see every little shadow, it looks unnatural. I can't see in the dark, and neither should my camera. It is nice to have some wiggle room, and with the Sigma FPL, I can push it to ISO 3200 if I need some extra wiggle room to get a sharp image, which is more important than, you know, grain. But in reality, just stick between 100 and 1250. It's dual native ISO, and your image will be at its cleanest. Now, while the low light is great, the real monster in the dark is the banding. The Sigma FP and FPL both don't have a shutter, which means when around artificial lights, these lines can appear. I hate this problem because it feels like I can't always compensate for this problem with skill. I have one rule for myself with this camera, and it's that whenever I'm around artificial lights, I park the camera at 1/50th and check my playback often to see if I need to adjust it to 1/60th or 1/40th. But still, it is so difficult with photo, and I can't always catch it. Okay, we are around the halfway point. If you want to continue to take control of your digital spaces, 1 week at a time, subscribe to the channel. Adding to the list of things you have to be aware of with the Sigma FPL is the rolling shutter. With the FPL, it is inevitable that you will see some wildly distorted images if you are shooting on a longer lens. Okay, I grabbed a couple throwaways from a spot that there would 100% be artifacting. You can see just how weird these horizon lines are. And it's got like a gigantic bend in it, and like the whole image gets pushed down to the bottom right. But for the most part, this camera is digital. So in fast-paced situations, just click the shutter a couple more times than usual and you'll end up with a usable image. Just be aware of it. The name of the game with this camera is accessories and personalization. You can build it out to be a tiny everyday carry camera, like I have it right here, or you can build it out to be a full-blown professional workhorse if you want. But long story short, I use Samsung Evo 980s in the 2 terabytes within this Orico housing, SSD housing, and I keep them all in the 52-week Sigma FP Arca Swiss bracket right here. The most important things beyond that to me is, one, carry a spare battery. These little pouches actually come with the OEM Sigma FP batteries. And buy SlimRaw. SlimRaw is a $65 program that exponentially saves your hard drive space by compressing your raw footage. Very important. Everything's listed on the website. And honestly, the customizability of this camera is what makes it so fun. Like, I recently added this peak design eyelet to replace the little rotating one because it would butt up against my cord less. There's always new and unique FPLs popping up on my timelines, and it's my favorite thing. Soichi on YouTube is a fun one to see cool builds, and Takuma on X. He always is retweeting other people's Sigma FPLs, and they're all so unique. But in the meantime, pause for a breakdown of how I run my Sigma FPL. At 52 weeks, we believe that buying more tech doesn't make you happier, but you should choose the best tools that help you consistently make your best work. This camera is for people that love unique tech, people that want to access the raw workflow for cheap, and, well, people that obsess over low profile power. I'm one of those people. People don't react to this camera the same way that they do with the bigger camera packages that I carry around. And, well, I think that's something only Leica has done for me in the past. People that should stay away from this camera include sports shooters, and anyone that wants to incorporate like a lot of movement into their work routinely. This camera works best as a companion to reliable production cameras. I'm proof that you can run this as a one and done, but in my opinion, this camera is best as a hobby camera. It was terrifying to sell my A7 III to get this goofy camera, but I mean, guys, there's so many good cameras out there right now, but a certain type of person needs to know that this exists. The Sonys have dominated the market share for the past forever, for good reason. But this camera is just so interesting. The rigging and personalization of this camera is so fun, and there's so many talented members of the community that are great to interact with. I love the image this produces, and I love how it slows me down and requires a deliberate hand. I hate some of the limitations of this camera, but for 1,300 bucks, 61 megapixels and 12-bit external RAW is absolutely bananas. The FPL is a total joy to use, even if it can be a little finicky. All right, folks, don't be afraid to leave any questions you might have about the Sigma FPL in the comments below, because I know there's not a lot of information about this camera online. And if you're interested, check out 52weeks.com for the Sigma FP Arca Swiss bracket if you want to turn your FP into the ultimate daily carry. And otherwise, just take life one week at a time. That's what we're all trying to do here, and well, survive, am I right? And take good pictures. See you next time.